Hello and welcome to the Experimental Plasma Charger Thin Containment Field Guide. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll be saying EPC from here on out. So, in this video we're going to go over how to use the EPC to mine minerals, destroy enemies, and generally just replace the scout in every situation through the use of the upgrade Thin Containment Field and the other upgrades that support it. So, let's jump into the game and take a look. Okay, jumping on into the game here, let's go ahead and take a look at how to spec the EPC to optimize Thin Containment Field's mining abilities. So, here we have a completely unspec'd EPC. So, let's start with the normal upgrades. Starting with the most relevant one, Thin Containment Field. This is the upgrade that actually allows you to mine and destroy enemies by shooting a charge shot mid-flight. So the only effects this actually has on the weapon is allowing you to not instantly overheat when charging a charge shot, and reducing the heat slightly on normal shot, so you can follow it up. So obviously we're going to take that. So let's move on to the second most important skill, in my opinion of course, because now nothing is necessary, charge speed. So this will jump up your charge speed from normal base 100% all the way up to 250%, so 150% faster. In other words, significantly faster. Very important. Now, next, I recommend either using this mod immediately when you start using this weapon, or never using it at all, as this affects your timing. And if you learn it without this, or with this, it's going to be making it very difficult to change later on. Essentially, shooting your charge shot out, and then changing the speed of your normal projectile will cause you to have issues with ranging your shot. So I recommend taking this, and if you haven't already, be prepared to learn with this on. So the last two we have is taking 2 ammo upgrades. This will allow you to do more charge shots, obviously, or more normal shots if that's what you need. Also worth mentioning that the second tier upgrade also helps with normal combat. Now, one thing I did forget to note in the initial recording of this video is that none of the area or charge shot upgrades affect the explosion of Thin Containment Field in any way. So, increasing the range or increasing the damage of the charge shot in this upgrade tree does not affect our build. So, don't pick up those upgrades, they are not useful for you. Okay, back to the video. The only thing that I really consider a choice for speccing this weapon is in the third tier to take improved charge efficiency. That way you use less ammo. And there is a caveat to this. I only advise using this if you do not have the heat pipe overclock. If you do, I wouldn't use it, and I would instead opt for the increased charge rate. Personally, I go all the way down, all 2s for every tier. That's just me, and you can tweak it slightly in the third tier or even in ammo if you really think that's necessary. So, taking a look at the overclocks now, there's only really 2, arguably 3, that are relevant for Thin Containment Field. So let's go over the 3 irrelevant ones first, and then we'll move on to the 3 relevant ones. First of all, persistent plasma. This does not affect the area that is detonated whenever you shoot a charge shot in flight, so this is worthless to us. Increased normal shot damage, but less ammo, is extremely detrimental to our charge shot based build, so we won't be using that. Overcharger, it reduces cooling rate and increases charge shot ammo cost by a significant amount. So even if you did somehow miss and hit an enemy with your charge shot, if you were intending to mine, this really doesn't offset the ammo cost that comes with it. Alright, so moving on to the 3 relevant ones, we have magnetic cooling unit. This is the least useful in my opinion. Say if you overheat, you will cool down faster. Also, you can hold a charge shot longer before releasing it and then shooting at it with your normal shot. This is really only useful if you're trying to re-aim in the middle of a charge, which you really shouldn't be doing using my method. Next, we have energy rerouting. This is the one I initially used until I got heat pipe. This is just a straight up upgrade. It makes you charge faster and gives you more charge shots. So a very good overclock if you do have it. And the best one possible, heat pipe. This gives you less ammo consumed for every charge shot, a faster charging rate. However, normal shots do generate more heat. However, that isn't really relevant, as you can still get a charged shot and a normal shot off without overheating, so this is perfectly fine. That is the overclock you will be using if you have it. Energy rerouting is a good second choice though. However, if you do take energy rerouting, I would recommend taking improved charge efficiency in the 3rd tier, as it will help you reduce your ammo usage. So, with all this, we get up to 325% charge speed and only 6 ammo used per charge shot. However, we do have to fire a normal shot to detonate, so technically it's 7. Theoretically, if you execute this weapon perfectly, you will be able to fire and detonate 24 thin containment field blasts from full ammo. And most importantly, the correct cosmetic scheme for this weapon is Tool of Destruction, as it is your Tool of Destruction. So, now that we've gone over all of that, we have our weapon in hand, we're ready to get into the caves and learn how to effectively use this weapon. So, here we are in the cave with our 100% stock EPC. With no upgrades, a charge shot will instantly overheat this weapon, as well as the charge shot, taking a long time to charge. For example, obviously this is not desirable for our purposes, so let's take a look at our fully upgraded EPC. Now, we take a look at our thin containment field build. This way, we can not overheat instantly when firing a charge shot, as well as charging our charge shot much faster. For example, it is in fact possible to shoot multiple charge shots without overheating with this current spec. Now let's get into the actual method of detonating a charge shot and utilizing thin containment field. First, we'll just do it into open air to get a feeling for it. So, as soon as we release our charge shot, at any point in flight, we will, aiming in the same position, shoot a normal shot to detonate it. Now, that implosion that you see will destroy any enemies and terrain near it. With the exception of larger enemies, this will kill most small enemies in a single hit. So, for example, let's try this on this bit of normal terrain right here. Right there. Now you may have noticed that I waited a little bit of time to allow the projectile to get closer to the terrain, as if I do it too quickly, it will blow up short and not detonate in the proper location. Timing is very important with this weapon, as you have to find your ranges and utilize it correctly. A valuable trick is shooting past an object rather than directly at it to make it easier to shoot the charge shot, as you don't have to worry about it colliding with anything. For example, if I shoot directly at this white crystal, I have to hit the charge shot before it hits it, or else I will miss my opportunity. However, if I aim to the right, I can shoot it whenever it is next to it, or slightly past it, and still get the desired effect. For example, see, I had to shoot it much earlier than I wanted to. However, if I put it next to it, it's a much more forgiving time period. You can see the center of each detonation here. It is worth noting that thin containment field is worthless for all grab-and-go type secondaries, as even if they're high on the wall, there's nothing you can do to knock them down. You'll have to get to them physically, which is what your drills are good for. Now let's move on to what everyone really cares about, mining minerals quickly. So, using a similar principle to how we mined that salt crystal, sorry, I had to take out the trash. Similar to the method we used to mine that salt crystal, we shoot near this morkite instead of directly at it, because if we aim directly at the mineral, there's the possibility that we will hit it with the charge shot. By aiming slightly next to it, near open air, we can avoid this. Notice how I detonated the projectile after it had already gone past my target. Had I been a little bit faster, I would have gotten the desired effect. So let's go ahead and try that again. There we go. Also, in a recent update, the mineral collisions were updated, so they pass through each other. So now everything is dropped in a clean, neat stack rather than exploding all over the cave, which is brilliant for this weapon. So, for example, we can very quickly mine out this nitra. It may not be the most ammo efficient option available for mining, but it is definitely the fastest, and has the versatility of a range unlike many mining items other than the satchel charge, which, considering you only get 4 of at max, I have a hard time calling it a reliable source of mining. Now I'll just throw together a few more clips of this weapon in action. And that's only a slight exaggeration on its speed. Now we'll go over some combat clips for Thin Containment Field. Please note this is being run on Hazard 1, so don't let your eyes pop out of your head when you see the damage numbers, but I want you to focus more on the method rather than the damage. Aiming indirectly at enemies and using the detonation bubble to do all your damage is the important part. So the method stays the same on all difficulties. I just wanted to run on Hazard 1 for the sake of enemy suppression, therefore you could focus better on the combat ability. And for our last combat clip, we have a Gliffid Dreadnought fight. Once again, this is being run on Haz 1, so the damage is a little skewed. However, it's important to note that if any part of the bubble touches an enemy, it does full damage. There is no overlap, it's simply a flat value applied at any point of contact. Using this method, it's very easy to dispatch any large enemy by simply shooting around, near, above them, and simply shooting your charged shot before it passes by. As you can see, while it was Haz 1, we dispatched that Dreadnought very easily due to the easy aiming. And that wraps up all of our gameplay footage. I hope you learned something helpful, and I hope this also encourages you to pick up the EPC and give Thin Containment Field a try for yourself. It's very powerful. But for a few closing statements, I just want to say that this is one of the hardest mechanics in the game both to learn and master, so don't feel frustrated if you don't learn it immediately. The best teaching technique I could possibly give you for this is just to load up into a solo game by yourself, likely on Hazard 1, just walk around the spawn room and practice this on the walls and any minerals you can see. It's the easiest way to learn it. Over time you will eventually become good enough that you can do this at incredible ranges, and also get quite creative with it, such as wiping out swarms in narrow tunnels, or shooting a downed teammate off of a ledge by destroying the ground under him. Really, sky's the limits with this thing, and I couldn't possibly teach you everything that you could do with it. But, once again, I hope you give this weapon a try, and I hope to see you, fellow drillers, down in the cave using this soon. Rock and stone. Have a good day.